Belk is an American department store chain founded in 1888. I want to say thank you for your suggestion.
During the summer home sale at Belk, you'll find great values on antibacterial pillows and mattress pads. Right now, they're 20 to 50% off. Don't miss the savings. It's the summer home sale going on now at Belk. Now at Belk, you'll find soft, cuddly pillow buddies. These are cozy animals you can sleep on, sit on, or just have fun with. And all styles are just $24.99. It's the summer home sale going on now at Belk.
Belk was founded in 1888 by William Henry Belk in Monroe, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte. At the age of 14, Belk went to work in a dry goods store at a salary of $5 a month. After 11 years, he had become head man in the store. The next year, when he was 26 years old, he decided to establish his own business. With $750 he had saved, $500 borrowed at 10% interest, and $3,000 worth of merchandise for which he traded, Belk opened a store in Monroe on May 29, 1888. He called his store the New York Racket, liking the name because it sounded big. A little more than 6 months later, with the slogan, "Belk sells it for less," he had paid off the money he had borrowed, covered his expenses, and made a clear profit of $3,100. 3 years later, he persuaded his brother John Montgomery Belk, a practicing physician, to give up his profession and join him in the mercantile venture. Several of Belk's policies was unique at the time. Merchandise was clearly marked and was sold at the price marked. There was no haggling at the counter. If a customer bought an article, took it home, and found that it was not what he wanted, he could return it and get his money back. He also introduced another merchandising idea that was far more radical. He sold for cash only. Therefore, he had no accounts to record, no notes to accept, no mortgages on farm crops and animals to foreclose, and no customers distressed and angry because he had dispossessed them of their property. In 1891, the founder approached his brother John Belk to become a partner in the prospering store. Thus, the Belk Brothers Company was formed. A second store was opened in 1893 in Chester, South Carolina, a third in Union, South Carolina in 1894, and the following year, William Belk moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to open the company's fourth store. The brothers' store was doing so well by 1895 that other merchants even began to copy its straight-talking slogans like "Cheap goods sell themselves" and "The cheapest store on earth." In 1897, he combined the purchasing power of the four stores, plus two others in which the brothers had no financial interest, and formed a loose cooperative buying network. This allowed them to purchase goods in bulk quantity at favorable prices. All purchases and sales were cash. Belk also made extensive use of advertising as well. The company's greatest expansion followed in World War I as the Southern economy received a boost. Cotton prices went up and soldiers came home. Between 1918 and 1920, Belk stores' total sales more than doubled to $12 million a year. In 1920, Will Leggett, John Belk's nephew by marriage, opened a store with the Belks in Burlington, North Carolina. His brother, Fred Leggett, opened a store in Danville, Virginia that same year, the Belk Leggett. The Belk brothers often added managers' names to their own new stores. The stock market crash of 1929 slowed Belk's sales growth, but its stores stayed open. Belk took advantage of other companies' misfortunes by acquiring defunct stores, netting 22 stores in 1930 and 1931. In 1934, Belk opened a record 27 stores, expanding geographically into Tennessee and Georgia in the process. By 1938, Belk was doing business in 162 locations in 7 states. In 1952, founder William Henry Belk died at the age of 89. He had worked as the head of the company up until the time of his death. Belk opened the company's first shopping center store in Florida. This store marked a dramatic break from Belk traditions. A New York design firm created a fancy interior, music was played, and merchandise was displayed for self-service. This contrasted sharply with the Belk store's trademark features of spare, no-nonsense decor and an army of well-trained sales clerks. In the late 1950s, the Belk department stores had nearly peaked in the South with 325 stores in 16 states. In 1958, there were 380 stores in 17 states. By 1963, the stores were, for the first time, presented to the public as a unit instead of a string of independent operations. Change was still slow, however, and at a time when more buyers were using credit, 87% of Belk's sales were still cash. Meanwhile, more stores were added to the fold. 14 opened in 1969 and 16 in 1970. The new stores were larger and used modern management techniques such as computerized payrolls and centralized personnel departments. Expansion continued, and between 1972 and 1975, more than 50 stores were opened. Several of the company's signature downtown stores were closed in favor of stores in the prospering outlying malls. Credit and data processing systems were centralized and upgraded. Another change was Belk's pursuit of upscale brand names. Estee Lauder, a brand of cosmetics, was aggressively wooed until it was added to product lines in 1975. When Belk stores in smaller towns upgraded their look and merchandise, this served to add new customers to an already loyal clientele. The co-branded structure that had existed since the 1920s started to change in the 1990s. This structure allowed Belk to expand quickly and permitted local variations, but resulted in a diluted brand identity since most stores were co-branded. By the 1990s, the system had become increasingly untenable. Stores were held by over 350 separate legal entities. Belk family members disagreed about whether to maintain or sweep away the structure, and some local partners threatened stability by selling their stakes. When Profits made an offer for the Leggett family stake, which included 42 stores comprising about 20% of Belk's revenue, John and Tom Belk were forced to respond by forming a new company in 1996 that bought the Leggetts out. This move accelerated the slow trend of consolidating the store's ownership under the Belks. In 1998, the company formed a new entity, Belk Inc., that merged the 112 remaining Belk companies, swapping the existing partners' local interests for shares in the combined entity. For example, the Hudson family in Raleigh received almost 5% of the shares. The same year, Belk made a deal to acquire 7 Dillard's locations in exchange for 9 of theirs, so that each could build the regional strengths. Slowly, Belk eliminated the dual brands, completing the process with a chain-wide Belk rebranding in the fall of 2010. On July 5, 2005, Belk completed the purchase of 47 Profits and McRae's department stores from Saks Incorporated, primarily in Tennessee and Mississippi. Belk converted the 39 Profits and McRae's stores to the Belk nameplate on March 8, 2006. Just over a year later, Belk purchased 38 Parisian department stores from Saks on October 2, 2006. Although most Parisian stores were converted to the Belk nameplate since September 12, 2007, some duplicate Parisian stores were closed. In October of 2010, Belk introduced its new logo, its first since 1967. The chain embarked on a $70 million marketing campaign that replaced the old slogan of All for You with a new slogan, Modern Southern Style. By 2014, the chain operated 293 stores in 16 states, generating $4 billion in sales. The state of North Carolina led the number of Belk stores with 65 stores, followed by Georgia and South Carolina with 45 and 35 stores respectively. Its typical store covered 100,000 to 180,000 square feet. 50% of its stores are in regional malls, another 40% in open-air community or retail parks, and 10% in open-air lifestyle centers. On December 10, 2015, Belk announced that it had entered into a definitive merger agreement to be acquired by New York-based private equity firm Sycamore Partners. On July 5, 2016, Lisa Harper became CEO of Belk, marking the first time since the founding of the company that a non-Belk family member would head the company. On January 26 of 2021, it was announced that Belk would file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, continuing to operate normally through the bankruptcy process, while Sycamore expected to exit by the end of February 2021. Sycamore would retain majority control of Belk, while private equity firms KKR and Blackstone would receive a minority stake in the company following its emergence from bankruptcy. The plan was to liquidate about $450 million of debt and raise $225 million in new capital, with no new employee layoffs or store closures anticipated. On February 23, 2021, it was announced that Belk had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The next day, Belk emerged from bankruptcy having successfully completed its financial restructuring, finalizing an expedited prepackaged one-day reorganization, and emerging well-positioned for long-term growth. As part of the restructuring, Belk received $225 million of new capital, reduced its debt by approximately $450 million, and extended maturities on all term loans until July of 2025. Today, there are around 293 stores in 16 states. So what are your favorite memories of this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you just watched my video, thanks for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe to Eric C. Productions.